Welcome, everybody, to the Synapse Philosophy Group. I'm Dr. Haig John, your host. And tonight we're on D.D. Palmer's 1910 book, The Chiropractor's Adjuster. And we're on page 616, Innate. Okay. And Alan had found a really great spot on 615, the page before. And I just want to read that small paragraph. And then I have my handheld right here today. I hope everybody can hear me okay. And 615 on the adjuster and middle page where it says science covers a field. I'll read that now. Science covers a field of usefulness where the amount of work is unlimited. Chiropractors have the opportunity of making the world better for their having lived in it. Make yourself and others happy by learning a science that discloses the cause of disease and teaches how to adjust it instead of treating its effects. Mm-hmm. Now, we have a new team in the office right now, and this is the hardest part. And they come from the medical field, right? So this is the hardest thing to get through in someone's mind and treat the symptom, right? Instead of clear the body, let it adapt, and the body's hopefully not past a point of what do you call that, limitations of matter, where the matter is unable to repair, which is a very important thing for us to realize. We're not a healing art because there are limitations to matter, and we're not the healer. We allow the influence of the bone. Innate knows where to put it properly, and the body does what it needs to do efficiently. So there we are. Chiropractic. How do you guys feel?
It's very hard for people to separate the concept of people improve, people get well or heal when we do things with them. Right?
Well,
when we do something and am I frozen or are you?
You're
I lost
frozen.
everybody.
Or maybe I'm frozen. Well, think of this, right? If we are offering an influence, the body has to do the work. The body does, we can't take credit for it. When someone goes through a remission of cancer, God forbid, someone ends up with cancer and they have remission. It doesn't mean that the doctor healed them.
There we are.
It means that in remission of cancer, the body was strong enough to heal the problem, the tumors, the cancer itself. But the body deserves, really the glory, God's creation. All right. Any other insights on that?
I got lost there. Everybody else froze, and then I had to sign back
We're on the same page discussing the same thing, and I'm moving to page 616 right now. Okay. 616 innate. And I love innate. We all love innate as chiropractors. I love it too because I know the name of a seminar because it's God's seminar. It's not mine. And that is the expression of life within the body and how we describe it in chiropractic. And I think it's important for us all to realize that chiropractors and general public, when we talk about innate, the power within. So I'm going to read this this one page 616. I'll probably stop a couple of times. All right. Okay. Innate. Man can be, this is in parentheses, so he's quoting somebody else, right? In quotes. Man can be diseased only when the mind fails to perform properly its function. Now, this is DD. The mind, the intellectual, the rational faculty, and the understanding, the intellect of man is of the educated. The function of the mind, the intellect, are those of affection, voluntary motions, etc. Now, quotes again. His ingenious and profoundly scientific theory that the mind governs organic functions, end quotes. That boy is theorizing, speculating. He has not grasped the author, which is DD talking about himself, author's idea of innate, No wonder he says, my pet theory, the mind governs the intellectual functions, innate directs the vital actions, those of vegetative functions of the animal economy. Very important distinction. We don't talk much about that in the world of health. People are starting to say what chiropractors have saying, and then all of a sudden we put them on stages and give them books and us glorify them as chiropractors when they've just repeated our philosophy. So ultimately we have to take charge of this philosophy. And we were talking just recently this morning that with my office team, the way my father, he was in went to medical school in London in the 1940s, a million years ago, right? And the way they were taught really was first monitor and see if the body adapts, give it some time to adapt, and if it doesn't adapt, then you influence it in some way. Makes perfect sense. That is chiropractic philosophy as well. We remove the interference, give it a chance to adapt. If it's not able to because it's reached a limitation of its matter, unable to repair, right? Then it needs some influence. So, we're not far off base. We just have to get it back to a level of there. I'm letting Alan back in.
No, you're good.
Normalcy. And get off this crazy fast track of McDonald's level care for ourselves. Go ahead, Bob. You just unmuted. Did you unmute?
No, no.
Well, we always want to hear from you. All right.
Okay, we'll let you know.
You and Carol. All right.
Oh, excuse me.
Connecting mind with body. The mind, like other functions, is dependent on innate and the conditions of the nervous system. Innate is connected with the body. That union produces life dash soul. Life and soul he puts together. Okay. I think that's absolutely amazing. And that we're separating soul from this. Innate, the spiritual, has the power to conceive, judge, and reason on matters which pertain to the internal welfare of the body. Connecting mind with body, he doesn't really like that. We talk about that quite a bit in chiropractic. The mind, like other functions, is dependent upon innate and the conditions of the nerve system. Absolutely. Innate is connected with the body. That union produces life. Life, and he puts it's a long dash, which he's saying life is the soul. Innate, the spiritual, has the power to conceive, judge, and reason on matters which pertain to the internal welfare of the body. We can't intellectualize health so much, which we're trying to do now. The brain impulse is generated by the brain under the command of innate. In end quote. That's a quote. Now this is Dee Dee again. The brain generates thoughts, produces the mind. The mind and thoughts are products of the brain. Creatures begotten by education, innate impulses, the energy which runs the vital functions, are not generated. They are not originated by any process, nor begotten. They always existed. In quotations again, the innate mind or the soul. Mind is the production of educated and not of the spirit of innate. Mind and soul are not synonymous. Mind, as we have just stated, is a production of educated. The soul is the life of the body, the breath of life, the life directed by innate. So, innate being the orchestrator, life is given through the soul. That's the spiritual soul of life given by God. Innate runs the orchestra. Make sure it runs properly. That is the inner wisdom, right? He used to
This whole thing is just making a very clear delineation between educated and innate. And
I love it.
and I think that's integral for us to certainly understand. It's hard for us to help our employees and or patients, practice members to understand, but it's certainly integral for us to get a clear differentiation in our minds of what innate is, and even though it's being personified here to try and help us understand it, it's a spiritual issue. It's metaphysical.
And he's saying in here, because this comes up quite often about the soul, he's not forgetting about the soul. People mention that, he doesn't mention it. He does it right here and delineates the difference of when we talk about that. How often do we get that? The Bible doesn't break it down in those ways. We don't get those things very often in regular communication about chiropractic. And he doesn't like connecting mind and body, mind, body, and spirit. I really feel we misquote Dee so badly. That's why we're doing this whole book, because it's important for us to keep this on track. Thanks for reiterating that, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, he says the mind and thoughts are the products of the brain, structures begotten by educated. It's separate. It's
Yeah.
it's 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 something other than what runs it and makes it all work. Educated brain doesn't make my heart beat. Innate makes my heart beat.
Yeah, that's right. Educated just tries to figure out how it can mess around with it.
It's good.
He used to cherish, revere, and worship his father's manuscript, so much so that he rummaged his father's wastebaskets in order to secure the articles blocked out as written and corrected and finished manuscripts. These comprise quite a share brought out and used in wait. Well,
Of the
I missed
70
a little
volumes.
bit. Blocked out as written and corrected and finished manuscripts. These comprise quite a share brought out and you wait. How did
You left the line out again.
Yeah,
Quite a share of the 70 volumes of notes, copies of every idea that has been brought out and used in chiropractic.
yeah. In strange contrast to the above is the statement made at the Fest of Buzzards.
Used
The
buzzards.
last 99% of chiropractic ideas are those of others than D.D. Palmer. 200 years ago, superstition ascribed disease to evil spirits and displeasure of the divinities. Today, scientific medicine ascribes it to a bug and proposes to inoculate those who are well so as to protect them from the entrance of the bug. I'm not sure if I understand this last sentence or paragraph really. In strange contrast to the above is the statement made at the
Beast.
Feast of Buzzards. It must have been Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Other than the D.D. Palmer. Oh, him correcting everything above there and understanding, what chiropractic is. 99% of chiropractic of those of other than D.D. Palmer, and they're all wrong. That's why he's writing this.
Yeah.
And he's saying, "Oh no, Charlie, not like that." I really love it when he gives us, this is our philosophy, right? To understand innate, we need to read about it. He gave it a greatest description of innate. And now, I love BJ's writings. Most of them are him trying to understand and then directing it to us to understand the difference between educated and innate. I think he did an excellent job in just a couple of paragraphs right here. What do you guys feel?
Yeah. Yeah. That's I think it's very clear what he's doing here, and I think it's integral, and it's the same, it's similar, but it's different from the stuff you get, that mostly what we get through streamed through BJ's teachings, which is what mostly we get exposed to.
Yeah.
BJ was a great marketer, and that's what we've got.
Oh, but and to his credit, really, he spent that energy and effort of really trying to quantify what Dee was saying. Just
Oh yeah.
take this page, right, and blow it up to, okay, I need to wrap my head around it as a 20-year-old man BJ Palmer. Let's set up experiments. Let's do this intellectually, which is absolutely amazing and was very necessary in chiropractic. Setting up experiments, looking at quantifications, doing it in a methodical way to understand the mechanical. We have to understand the physical just as important as the educated, and we have to understand the spiritual. And of course, as a younger man, he went straight for the physical first, and I think that is very important to understand that, to do the research projects that he did. And my microphone fell off. I hope this.
It's
There
still
we go. I
working.
hope you can all hear me. Testing 112. Here we go. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it was, and I'm not finding it right here. But somewhere, as I was skimming to try and find what we might be able to look at tonight, there was something where he talks about, there's something that it took BJ. He said when he was young, it took him 3 years maybe I didn't wait long enough. It took him 3 years to learn this, and the other, it took like 7 or 8, and I just didn't wait long enough. I got mad at him effectively, and we
Yeah.
didn't, and I didn't wait long enough. He says, BJ was trying, he gives him credit. He doesn't say BJ, but it's clearly he's talking about his son at the time. And I don't know exactly where that was. I wish I could find it.
That's all right. And, we're going to get to it. This is where we're going to stop today, because we do have to digest it and look through it. And the work that we're doing in between these works, the podcasts, is really getting, the essence out of D.D. Palmer, because this was also class notes. He's teaching from this. Each chapter is really a class, if we want to look at it in that sense. He's talking about fever and spinal mechanics and those type of things. So, but we don't need to read all those things right now. Okay. So that's why we're skipping a little bit. Okay. Now, today is, I like reading about innate because you can see it on the wall, right? So I have a shameless announcement. We put it on this post for today. Is our Save the Babies. We're doing a movie, and this is a documentary. This is the second part of it. We've done it in 2 years ago. We started the project, and now we're doing the final cuts at Life University. We need to have the chiropractic profession there to help us and be a part of this. I'd love to have the support of chiropractors, whether they are supporting Life University, just chiropractic, whatever it might be. So it's a call to action for chiropractors. My talk is going to be about birth trauma and the role of chiropractic care. I think we need chiropractors in every labor and delivery in the country. I think we need to be there for every baby and mother that is giving in birth. It's too big of a job for one chiropractor in a town. I think, we need teams of chiropractors in towns to do that. And instead of sneaking into ICUs or NICUs and things, I think we need to walk in boldly and be there and serve the people. Now is the time. We're the best educated natural health process, right? We're not a healing process. We're a natural health process. We have to claim it in some way, what we do, right? And take a stand there. There is no one else that has the education system that we do in place, and let alone our loans and everything else. 300 grand or 250 grand, 300, who knows, for a student to graduate these days. So, but what does that mean? Hopefully it equates to a darn good education, right? They're getting a
Hopefully they're getting some of what we talk about.
Well, this is exactly, I wish they were learning this. I mean, this is a 9-month class. I would have this over anything else, right? And some adjusting, and let's set them free. But, the way they've set up the system is that we are taught relatively the same thing besides pharmacology. And we spend a lot more time on human physiology and function of that physiology, and a lot more in neuroanatomy. So chiropractors, really, it's time to take a stand. And when I was in school, I was at Life when there was the accreditation issue at that time. And part of the thing that they snuck in, people don't talk about this, and I don't understand why. This should be the biggest uprising. We had chiropractors teaching us the sciences. Like Pasquale taught neuroanatomy, neuroscience. And I had chiropractors teaching me anatomy and physiology. I can't even remember the classes then. And when that switch happened, the hostile takeover is what it was. Then it had to be PhDs after that. And they got the bottom of the barrel. I'm sorry if the PhDs are listening to this. I'm sure you're better now. But I had teachers, they didn't know what they were teaching us. And I literally had people reading blah, 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 refer to figure 9. Oh, and then just reading out of the book, going through the
And
numbers.
the worse than that is the fact that they didn't understand the principles that we work under, that we work by. I mean, when Millman was teaching the radiology, and he was a chiropractor, he was teaching radiology when I was at Life, and he would say this and this and this, but what do you think is happening here? Innate is adapting and causing these structures to change and causing these spurs to happen. It's the body's working to develop and protect itself. He would explain, he'd say, this is what it is, but and then go from there.
By a chiropractor, right?
I'm concerned that we don't have people like Fred Barge and Sid Williams out talking at seminars like they used to.
Well, they were there in their time to teach us.
When Fred was there. I mean, you need the philosophy to be discussed and put forward, as well as explained in relationship to the physiology in classroom.
Yeah, we get that. The thing is, those people, it's not that they're gone. They've imprinted themselves upon us. If we don't pick up the baton, then it's our fault. You see, okay? So they did that work, not so they could be immortal, but so we could take up that baton and say, all right, I'm going to run for this next leg. There damn well better be somebody in front of me to hand this baton off to down the road too. It's not that the generation is gone. It's just that we've got to recognize the generation coming. And I think it's very important. We can't disregard them because I think they're very powerful. I see a lot of great chiropractors coming out. We see amazing things at the schools. The professors at the schools are wonderful. Don't get me wrong about that. I mean, absolutely wonderful professors at all the schools. The one thing is the sciences being taught by chiropractors, I think is extremely powerful. And they took that away from us, right?
Yeah.
For exactly the reasons you're saying, is that to relate, let's relate chiropractic to immunology and virology. For God's sake, please, let's relate it to biology, but most of the people don't know. So we educate them. In that period, I went to Cleveland Chiropractic College in Los Angeles to be near my family. I was only there a couple of months and went back to Life University, but I started the ICA, student ICA there, and I went to every teacher's box. The 1906 that he picks on B.J. Palmer so much about this, and his notes is what he just wrote about, actually, was about the notes that he stole from Dede, and Dede said it's not ready to publish yet, and he published it, and that's the 1906, okay? And Simon Sensen, he just sent a message that they're working at separating what's BJ and Dede. He said it's a 20-year process. It's not easy. I don't envy that process. That's cool, though. But BJ, he was thirsty for it. It was exciting. It's fun, yes, let me get my hands on it. So I made copies of the first few dozen pages of that book, and I put it in all the teachers' cubby holes because I was student ICA president. I had a key to the room, so I put it in everywhere. I had to pass it all, and I got it out. I had to take gross anatomy again. It was ridiculous. I went back to Life, but gleefully, I always say, the anatomy professor started teaching gross anatomy and referring to things that I put in her box. And she said, I've been here for 12 years. Now, I'm not picking on the school or what have you, but I didn't know anything about chiropractic. Who dropped the ball, right? Yeah. So that professor, she was like, yeah, I know more about chiropractic. I've been here for 12 stinking years, man. And she started relating innate intelligence The body's not able to adapt. She's relating things in a subluxation, and a corpse is not the same. You can't have a subluxation in a corpse. You can't have a living person. Yes. Wow, exactly, because there's no life interfered with. She started getting it and saying all kinds of things. So I was like, okay, it's time to move on. I'll go back to life. But, I have the wherewithal to do those things. I don't expect everybody to do it. I've been raised a warrior, and I will shove it down their throat until they choke on it. And, but usually give a blessing for it, I hope. That's my job.
You said something earlier about people about carrying on, and I want to acknowledge you because you're standing on Larry Webster's shoulders.
Well, that's very kind of you.
I studied with Larry, and what the work you do is work that he would be trying to do today, and I'm proud of you.
Oh man, that warms my heart, and I appreciate that. Thank you. It's a thankless job at times, man. I tell you, because all this extra stuff we don't get paid for. Putting on a seminar, I'm going to tell you, it costs money to put on a seminar. I closed my office for 2 days. You're not making that back up by selling tickets. I tell you that right this minute.
When I was studying with Larry, he taught it was an what I'm not coming up with the word. It was a voluntary class, right? And I used to go downtown to the Lucky Street Clinic in Atlanta. After hours, he would teach this class. There were like 6 of us would show up every week to take this class with Larry Webster on pediatric adjusting, and learning the Webster technique. And that's what pediatrics was when I was in school.
I gave the last adjustment at the Lucky Street Clinic, last student adjustment at the Lucky Street Clinic, and they're kicking us out. I loved Lucky Street. I love that Lucky Street Clinic, man. Well, we had a great night tonight, guys, and I appreciate you. I've got a little bit more work to do. Here's my papers coming up. Of course, I got to print things out and handwrite them, my notes on there, and then go back and do it like I'm a caveman. I'm not quite chiseling it in a stone like Fred Flintstone, but I'm not far from it. Okay. So I'm a little bit analog. I'm going through it again and then giving it to my wife. We've got to do some corrections, but birth trauma. I'm coming up with a title: Birth Trauma, the Other Epidemic, or the Other American Epidemic. And I mean the Americas, right? The Americas, because like Brazil, C-section, it's like at 90% C-section, outrageous numbers in Latin America. You see it. So this is really the Americas is what I'm really saying. And when I say America, I mean North and South. As us working together, it's saving lives, coast to coast, tip to top, top to bottom. Okay. So, I'm working on titles. If you guys have a cool title, send me a message. I'm working on it now. I did research for a newsletter in my office on fevers about 8 or 10 years ago. And I wrote a newsletter. I give it out 100 times, but I realized what we really need is a definitive guide on fevers. And doing the research on it, there's some things out there, but we need to hit mainstream to help people. What is the body adapting to and what to look for, right? The body's adapting to something. I was at Life University I was the 3rd generation of chiropractors to take care of the AIDS patients from the AIDS research, okay? And the last thing these guys and women had was very high fever. Since then, I've been enamored by fever. It's the only part of their immune system that was working well, which was fever. So they were usually hot, like they were putting off some energy usually, and it took a lot of energy from them. But since then, I've been absolutely enamored by fever. How are we been lied to? Lower the fever. I'm sure you guys have been in practice. Oh, my kid was feeling bad. He was really achy. I gave him I don't even want to advertise the drug, it's acetaminophen poison. Okay. And to lower his fever, and he felt so much better. Oh, it's so good.
People don't think about the purpose of the fever.
Yeah.
The microorganisms live in a narrow range of temperature that's adapted to your normal body temperature.
Yeah.
And so what happens? your body, one of the innate, raises the body temperature and it starts killing off the microorganisms. They can't live in that higher. You raise it up to 103, and they're trying to live in, they can only live in 98.6. It's 4 degrees too hot for them, and they cook and they go, we're done. And
they
some of them
also don't
survive and adapt, and that's
reproduce.
the issue.
They
But
don't
that's that.
reproduce at that high temperature. That's the other one. Go ahead, Bob.
It's like I remember when we were studying back in microbiology,
Here comes the cat.
and they had
Yes.
pyrogens. They were talking about pyrogens, and they credited this this germ with making this ability to raise up the temperature and give them a fever. And in the meantime, I'm reading it going, why in the real can't they have recognized right in front of us right now that that was innate doing that, and it was
Yeah.
his intelligence that made that happen?
We've been convinced since Pasteur. Oh, it's the bug that's making you get that high fever. It's not the bug. It's your body's genius
Your
that's
body's,
doing it.
Exactly.
body's knowing what to do to get rid of it
Yeah.
as best it can.
It's not endogenous. It's not exogenous. It's endogenous. So got to
Sometimes I
throw out
think
some
you
big
just
words like we're well educated out here.
there was Th Daisy, what's his name? Count Basie.
Count Basie. Okay.
Count Basie, you know what he used to say? What was it? The kiss method. Keep it simple, stupid.
There you go.
Pasquale used to say, "Keep it simple, sweetheart."
We need to get out of the way
Yeah.
and give credit where credit is due. And that's to our innate, and that is rise the whole show.
That's it.
Well, that is,
Allow Nate to
very
express
poignant.
and we win. There you go.
Absolutely. When you can quote Count Basie, man, you're doing all right. All right. I love and appreciate you guys. I miss you. I can't wait to see you. And we'll see you again next week. All right.
All right. See you next week.
Excellent.
Love you guys. Good night.
Love you.